Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
You are sitting ringside with David Penzer on Radio Influence.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Sitting Ringside. Thank you for joining us. My name is David Penzer. We are so happy that you are back for this thing we call a podcast. And it's been a busy week this week. First of all, hope that you guys enjoyed the Disco Inferno and the names picked out of the hat. Got a lot of positive feedback on Twitter on that. So I do appreciate the feedback. Always looking to see what you guys think of what we could do better or what you're digging that we're doing. So thank you for the feedback on that. Want to thank Disco again. And based on the feedback, we might do that maybe once or twice every year moving forward. Want to remind you that, as we mentioned last week, our guest this week will be Koko Ware, WWE Hall of Famer. So we're looking forward to chatting with Koko on what should be a fun interview. So stay tuned for that. Got a couple of announcements to make, by the way, and just wanted to let you know that I am proud that I will be appearing at StarCast in the Chicago area over Labor Day weekend. It is a sort of a wrestling podcast and wrestler convention that is being done the weekend of the All In show. So a lot of stars of professional wrestling, a lot of legends, and a lot of the talent from All In are going to be there for the StarCast event. And there are going to be meet and greets. There's going to be panel discussions and all kinds of other cool stuff. So I was honored to be asked to be there that weekend. So I want to remind you that tickets go on sale tomorrow, and you could get them tomorrow and in the future at starcast.com. If you want to see more of the information about StarCast and a great weekend of wrestling legends and podcasters, go to starcast.com, STARRCAST.com. So happy to say that I will be in Chicago Labor Day weekend. Also really excited to let you know that next week our guest is going to be a former WCW World Heavyweight Champion. I bet you would never guess who he's going to be, and I'm not even going to leave you hanging. Ladies and gentlemen, he's only done one other podcast that was 4 years ago about professional wrestling, and he is going to be sitting ringside next week. I am so excited to have former WCW champion David Arquette as our special guest. So we're going to talk to him about the movie Ready to Rumble. We're going to talk to him about coming in and participating in WCW for a few months, becoming World Heavyweight Champion for a couple of weeks, and talk to him about his thoughts on the wrestling business. I know he's still a big fan. Real nice guy. I expect to be a fun interview. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to hit David Arquette with about his wrestling career or his take on professional wrestling, be sure to go to @Penzer Ringside or @David Penzer. And if you don't have Twitter, you could email me at David Penzer, all one word, at radioinfluence.com. Don't forget to hit me up with any questions for David Arquette, former WCW champion. Our guest next week on Sitting Ringside at David Penzer on Twitter would be the best place to go. So excited about that, and should be a fun and interesting conversation with a pop culture icon and a former world heavyweight champion. Right now, though, we talked last week about my Wrestling Observer, how I got involved into the Wrestling Observer by a guy named Alex Marvez, and how he's still mad at me because I lost the editions that he had given me, about 2 years worth, I believe. And so I was texting him, and we were having fun, and I thought I'd bring him on. He is a Sporting News NFL columnist and a Sirius XM NFL radio host. Basically been one of the top football journalists for the NFL for the last 20 years. And funny enough, we broke in together just trying to learn the wrestling business for the Global Wrestling Alliance many years back down in South Florida. So please welcome at this time, Alex Marvez. Last week on Sitting Ringside, we had Disco Inferno on. I told the story when talking about the Wrestling Observer newsletter and Dave Meltzer of Alex Marvez, who is the Sporting News NFL columnist and Sirius XM NFL radio host, longtime football journalist, and told the story about how he got me involved in the Wrestling Observer newsletter and turned me onto it and lent me like 2 years of back episode editions of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. And for the longest time, I told him, yeah, I'll get it to you. Yeah, I'll get them back to you. And I finally, at some point, like 10 years ago, had to break the news that I had lost them. So I thought I'd bring Alex on and give him a public apology and see if he's still hot. Alex Marvez, how are you, sir? Longtime friend. I've known you longer than I've been in the wrestling business, and you've been in the football business. So how'd things going, my old friend?
How crazy is that, Dave? And it is great to hear your voice. And of course, as you know, I'm so proud of your success. And really, the thing about the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and I will be billing you, by the way, for those 2 years of lost yearbooks. And they were the big yearbooks back in the day, not the paper version.
Oh, that's right. It was the yearbooks. I thought it was just the you're right. It was the yearbooks. That's even worse. Sorry.
I know it is. But, you know, the good news is, though, that they do sell back issues. So I know that you'll be sending me a bunch of copies. And when I'll get them in the mail and it'll have that Tampa postmark on it, you know, and it'll all be good. But, you know, the Wrestling Observer newsletter back, Dave, when you and I and our timeline in wrestling, very similar. You know, we both became friends with people at the Global Wrestling Federation and really indoctrinated us to the business. And for those unfamiliar with it, we're not talking about the one that was on ESPN in the early 1990s. We're talking about the one that was Florida based. And this was essentially a company that took off after Championship Wrestling from Florida got bought by Crockett Promotions and subsequently folded. And you and I were both trying to learn everything we could about the wrestling business.
It was actually the Global Wrestling Alliance.
Right. The party animal, Steve Collins, I believe, was part of that. And Death Row 5260 and Norman Smiley, Joe Malenko. I mean, you know, Dr. Red Roberts. I mean, there were some talented guys there. And, you know, and these guys, you know, Bob Ruby, they were so nice to us when we were growing up, when we were kids. You know, I would think I was 18 years old. You were probably 19 or 20 at the time. And, you know, we didn't know what we didn't know. But we tried to learn everything we could about the way wrestling worked. And that's why the Wrestling Observer newsletter to me was, I mean, this was before the internet. This was before all of these things were out there. And it did give you an edge in the wrestling business because you were able to read about the way that business worked in other territories, in other countries. You were able to pick up this history. You got spoilers. You got real names. You found out all the dirt going on behind the scenes. And at that time, that stuff was very privy information, and it really did give you an entree into the wrestling world. I mean, because you could converse fluently about this stuff. Even if you weren't a worker yourself, at least you knew enough about the wrestling business that it earned respect for you.
Sure.
You just have to be very careful about where you mention Dave Meltzer's name because remember, promoters were very paranoid at the time, but then you had guys like Paul Bosch who were secretly getting the Observer and reading it and learning about it. And, you know, a lot of the same people who said how much they hated the dirt sheets, quote unquote, couldn't put him down. They read him cover to cover.
Oh, everyone. We were talking about that last week. Disco claims he only read him if somebody gave him to him. He never subscribes. I don't know that I believe that for a second, but yeah, everybody read him. But I wonder, and love to have Dave Meltzer on the podcast someday, but I wonder if he ever looks back and says, thank God I lived to be, because he was public enemy number one for the longest time of wrestling promoters who were, it was all old school. Nobody knew anything.
Right. And, sort of like a little bit of a mystery guy. I mean, you did see him from time to time on television. He looked like a young Brian Pillman, very athletic guy, short guy, you know what I mean? But had long hair. I mean, he looked like Pillman, and
I never thought of Brian Pillman when I saw Dave Meltzer, but.
Well, the hair, for sure. When you go back, look up Dave Meltzer and mullet on the, and trust me, as a guy who carried one for a long time himself, I can relate to this sort of thing. But, when it happened with Dave was, essentially he became someone like, oh my gosh, Dave Meltzer was there, a little bit of a mythical type figure. And because at the time there were no news outlets to get someone like this on TV. You might have Pro Wrestling This Week with Joe Pedicino, or Bill Apter would be quoted. I mean, guys like this were, quote unquote wrestling journalists. There really wasn't this genre. And Dave essentially invented it by writing wrestling as a legitimate enterprise. And I learned so much about, that help.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to SaveWithConrad.com.
Helped me in my career with the NFL through pro wrestling, and Dave was always like, look, if it's the truth, you can write it. That's it. I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to. If it's something that's fact, you're going to hurt people's feelings, but ultimately it's fact. And you'll actually earn more respect a lot of times by printing the truth than you would by trying to cover something up or pretending it doesn't happen. So, to this day, a lot of folks that ripped on Dave Meltzer have had great relations with Dave after they've been ripped upon by him, and of course, he becomes now, it's funny because so many podcasts, you sit there and you criticize him and, oh, he never worked in the business, or, this isn't how it was. And you see this reinvention of history that's attempted to be going on by some other places, but it's all there in print. And trust me, I have every issue from March 2nd, 1987 on cataloged. I have saved all of this.
Except the ones I lost.
Except the ones you lost. See, that's going to help me because I know in the upcoming weeks when I receive these old yearbooks based upon my appearance here today, my quid pro quo fee, I'll have closure in my life with that.
Yeah, this is no serious XM NFL radio. This is we don't pay for interviews, but I remember actually I don't know if you remember this, but a memory that I'll never forget is putting up posters. I don't even remember the town, but me and you drove out and we're putting up posters for the Global Wrestling Alliance for a show. Just like you said, trying to get our feet in the door. Do you remember that?
I remember that. I also remember being with Bill Alfonso at a show in Tallahassee for WCW when Gordon Soley was the event promoter, and we were handing out Sting watches. We had 1,000 watches to give out, and Fonzie and I are sitting there basically just schlepping these things to anyone. We're schlepping the box around. We're giving them out to anyone that would take them at the time. And I think the house was like, 1,500 people or something, right, at the Tallahassee Civic Center. But that's what we did back then. And, you did become a little bit a part of it, at that time. And when you had that special entree, that special access to the guys, it's so different now. When you look at all the different layers of television production or, a company like WWE where there's, vice presidents and script writers and, you name it. I mean, and all the production crew. I mean, it's very different. It is more like, a play than it is actual pro wrestling like you and I were brought up. And I'm not saying it's better or worse. Look, there's some things that are great about the business today that you love. There's some things that make you lose interest in it. And I get all that, but it is one of the most fascinating industries to me because it's always evolving. And, what pro wrestling was 10 years ago isn't what it was 10 years before that, isn't what it was 10 years before that. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I just think that's what's so interesting about it. It never stays the same. It's always a static thing. There's always something happening that is changing the trajectory of the way the wrestling business works.
Absolutely. Let's talk about you for a little bit in your history. I know that you wrote a syndicated wrestling column for the Miami Herald back when you were a beat writer for the Miami Dolphins. Did you ever think about going the way of Dave Meltzer or Wade Keller and trying just to focus on wrestling journalism, or was football always your number one priority?
Football was my number one priority, but Dave, I got to tell you that there really wasn't a whole lot of money in the wrestling journalism world unless you ran a newsletter. I ran a newsletter in college called 3 Count, and it was, it had, several hundred subscribers. I just couldn't keep it up and also, cover, professional sports. I was a University of Florida football writer, when I was in college in Gainesville, and, had all these different jobs.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. Go Gators. But the point is that, Dave, it was like, at the time, there wasn't really a whole heck of a lot of money in pro wrestling. And the way I had to look at it was, I need to try to advance. I need to try to, feed my family. And I did both for as long as I could. When I left the Miami Herald, I went to Dayton, Ohio. I took the column with me. When I went from Dayton to the Rocky Mountain News in Denver, I covered those 2 Broncos Super Bowl teams. I took the column with me, and I continued to write it for Scripps Howard News Service till about 2012. And at that point, I got to be honest with you, I just lost interest in the product. I'm not a WWE fan. I don't watch it now. I watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. I watch Ring of Honor. I'll watch some independent stuff here and there. That's really more my speed. I'm just not a Vince McMahon fan. He will never get $1 from me for anything.
Wow.
I will not pay for a WWE product. I think it's just one of the worst human beings on the face of the earth. And, so I just will not, I just can't support it. I can't. And that's part of the problem as well. You become too close to this industry sometimes, and I did as a journalist. When you know how the sausage is made, you don't always want to eat the hot dog, if you understand what I'm saying. And that's, when you look at Vince McMahon and the pressure that he put on people to maintain certain types of body size before he was going to give them a push, which led to health issues, which led to deaths. You look at the 1980s and the travel schedule, how he simply didn't care if guys never got home. He was going to book them on double shots, triple shots, led to extended drug use, alcohol abuse. And you see how many guys, from that generation are still around. It's few and far between, which is really sad. And he was the guy pulling the strings on all of it. He simply didn't care. The only reason you have a WWE wellness program now is because people were dying. And because it's bad business when people die. So that's the type of person I think Vince McMahon is. So I lost interest in it, but I've regained some passion because of the New Japan stuff. I think, because it's booked so smart, right? I mean, Gato is just the best booker in pro wrestling to me because everything makes sense. And there's so many little things that happen sometimes as well. You hate to fast forward through any of their shows because I just think that everything has its place. And while it's, almost like booking by the numbers type of the way that Gato does his business, I still think it's effective because it's simple. You can follow it. And the guy's brilliant. And the other thing, too, I don't know these guys. They're in Japan. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The U.S. workers, I guess I can get to know. But really, too, it's more like you don't really know. You know what I mean? So I don't have an attachment to, the way the promotions run or all the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I know I can get spoilers and learn a bit about the guys. But reality is I just look at it now as an entertainment product. I enjoy it because I don't have to write about it.
You know what you need to work on, Alex? Being a little bit more honest and upfront with your feelings. It's okay to say what you being sarcastic.
And that's the thing. And that's what's nice about the wrestling business too. Look, it's hard for some guys, honestly, if you're looking for a job to say something, right? I mean, and that's really, if you're trying to get into, back with a paycheck, and that's why Vince McMahon gets everybody back. I mean, what do we have? Ole Anderson, is he the last Mohegan, so to speak? Is he the last?
I think so. Yeah, I think so, right. Actually.
And when you read about it, it was interesting, like why Bruno Sammartino came back to WWE. It's because he was afraid that his legacy was going to be erased by the McMahon family because they control the history of the business. One of the reasons right now they're trying to get a statue of the Crusher in Milwaukee, Reggie Legowski, is because they're afraid, his family and friends of his, that his legacy is going to be erased by WWE, that there's going to be a whole generation of people who don't know him because he never worked for Vince. He was a regional territory guy. And those guys are going to fade by the wayside as people get older and they die out and those memories don't get passed along because Vince also controls the AWA library. So you have to go. And I mean, you can find all these matches on YouTube. You got to dig a little bit. And younger fans may not know who these guys are. So I think that's important as well. And Vince he wants to be, of course it's an ego thing, right? You always want to have people come begging back to you because they need to feed their families or their egos are simply such that they need to be back in the wrestling business for some personal, justification, And Dave, look, I'm proud of you, how you've reinvented yourself in the real estate business and you're still involved in the business, but you're not, sending out, 100 videotapes trying to announce shows across the country to keep yourself active. You do your podcast, you do a great job with it. But, again, it's hard. And listen, it's not easy to make that type of change. It's a little bit of a midlife type thing, right? and especially these wrestlers. And Paul Heyman always said, go back to school, try to get a college degree, try to start looking for what you're going to do after this, because this business doesn't last forever. And it's accurate. You know, what happens when someone's 40 years old now? If you were in a wrestling territory and you were one of the top guys, you could still continue to work, and maybe there'd be a role for you afterwards, you know, the Gene Anderson type roles, things like that. Reggie Parks made belts, you know, things like this. But, you know, now what are those jobs? It's difficult for folks, and that's why so many are just desperate to hang on in the wrestling business and are afraid to really say a lot of things that are going to be, you know, controversial to cost them employment.
I'll tell you what, when WCW went out of business, it was talking about midlife crisis. It was a change to me. You know, I'm used to going out in front of, you know, an arena going, good evening, you know, fill in the blank and getting a pop. That was my pop. And you take that for granted, quite frankly, because it pumps up your adrenaline. And sometimes you get you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say that while I was in WCW, I didn't get a little full of myself. But they'll bring you know, the one thing about getting a little full of yourself is when you no longer have anything, it'll bring it back down to earth real quick. Hey, real quickly, because you've never experienced that, because you've been very successful. Since you're being so honest, what's your take on the Colin Kaepernick situation?
You know what? It's a couple things. He, you know, it may be proven, you know, through his collusion case that Colin has every right, you know, to do what he does during the national anthem, and that the NFL teams did conspire against him and are not signing him because he's a lightning rod for controversy. But Colin Kaepernick has done himself no favors with the way he's handled this as well. You know, look, do you want to bring someone in? And we see, and I'm going to tie this back into pro wrestling, Dave. Mike Elgin right now is nuclear, right?
Sure.
Nobody wants to touch Mike Elgin because of the accusations of sexual assault against, you know, a woman that he was involved with. And also, you know, he was booking a wrestler and, you know, all these things that have come out. And Mike basically only works in Japan right now. Nobody will touch him. Well, in the case of Colin Kaepernick, you sign him to your team, expect your fan base to be upset, expect all the media attention to come with it, expect sponsors to drop out, all of those things. So is it really worth it to have Colin Kaepernick? Is he that good a quarterback that you're willing to accept all those things to bring him onto your team? No. And that's why we're at where we're at right now with Colin Kaepernick. Again, he may end up winning his collusion case, but in the long run, I don't ever think we see him back in the NFL at this point. I mean, look at some of the you know, the scrubs that we have right now on NFL rosters at quarterback. I mean, it's crazy. These guys aren't as good as Colin. We know that. The reality is, though, he did this to himself. Look, when you wear a shirt that says Kunta Kinte, you know, to a collusion, question and answer that they had with Bob McNair, the Houston Texans owner, or a shirt that says Slave Patrol to one of, you know, to the Baltimore Ravens hearing. Man, I mean, again, you're like saying, okay, look, I'm not going to change my ways. I'm going to continue to be a polarizing figure. Well, for NFL teams, they got to make a business decision, and their decision is no Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, I don't think that he finds his way back. Like you said, just the attention that I don't think he's you know, if you're Peyton Manning in the heyday, you know, then it might be, you know, worth the attention. I just don't think he's that good a quarterback. I think he's serviceable, and you would know much better than I as an expert, but I just don't think he's valuable enough to come with all the distraction that comes with it. So I think you're right. I don't know too much about the collusion case, but yeah, as far as being back on an NFL team, I'm not so sure. Hey, real quick before we let you go, pick a Super Bowl winner for 2018, 2019.
I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints, believe it or not. And I actually think this is the year that they get it together. And I know the suspension of Mark Ingram for the first 4 games for a PED violation is bad.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Is that new?
That came out a day or two ago, but Mark Ingram is...
that's very good to know as somebody who was looking to draft Alvin Kamara in every fantasy league I'm in, because I rode him to 3 championships last year.
I love it. And I know in the 27 leagues that you play in, you're right about that. So, Dave, so we look at that. That's not a good thing for the Saints. But I just think that this is a team that rediscovered some things defensively last year. The addition of Marcus Davenport, the first-round pick, is going to help augment the pass rush. They sent some really good veteran players in Demario Davis, the linebacker, Kirk Coleman, the safety. And we know this Saints team can score points. Sean Payton knows what he's doing. I just think it's their time. And listen, they were 1 play away from the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia last year. Eagles are going to be tough. Vikings are going to be tough. I can tell you this, the NFC, I mean, really, that NFC Championship game may very well be the Super Bowl, because the AFC just looks pretty drecky outside of the New England Patriots. And even the Pats have some issues right now. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, they've got their feud going. It's like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens with Daniel Bryan. You know, they're not happy with their situation with Bill Belichick. We'll see if that ultimately gets resolved. But who else excites you in the AFC? to top the Pats. Nobody really. So again, NFC is the power conference right now, and I think the Saints will get there and probably beat the Patriots once again.
Hey, for somebody who doesn't follow WWE, you're sure up to date with the storylines. Just saying.
I read. I have my Wrestling Observer. I get it every week.
Do you still get it?
Of course. And
do you get a print edition or do you read it online?
Print edition. And you know what I do after that? I put it away and I don't lend them to people because sometimes things can happen where you don't get them back. So my feeling is that, you sort of want to hold on to your stuff. So that's what I've done with the Wrestling Observers. But every week I get it and I catch up on the news. And I just, again, because you want to follow it and you also want to remain relevant. And one more thing on this, Dave, when I talk to players around the league, they love it when I talk pro wrestling because so many of them are big fans. So, I can keep up on the industry. I just don't have to watch the product. I mean, it was funny. I was watching with a buddy of mine. I'm like, wait, is that Baron Corbin or whatever that guy's name is? That's Braun Strowman. That's what he looks like. I mean, really, I don't follow this sort of stuff in that way. I don't watch WrestleMania. I don't do any of that, but I do read up on the guys. And when I see a name and a face, I try to put them together a little bit. But I can tell you about New Japan Pro Wrestling and Toru Yano and buying DVDs and things like that. So, yeah, I'm okay with that stuff.
All right, well, we might have to bring you back for a longer stint. I know you have a show to do. You can catch Alex Marvez on Sirius XM NFL Radio and also a columnist for the Sporting News for the NFL and at Alex Marvez on Twitter. So long time no speak. Best to your family. Great catching up, and I'll be working on those observers. As soon as I get off the phone, I'm gonna call Meltzer.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the first thing you're going to do. And the second thing you're going to do is put up some anti-Trump stuff on your Facebook. He doesn't. Meltzer doesn't pick up the phone for me anymore. So I haven't called in a while. But the last couple of times I tried to call him, I don't even know what it's about. But I think promoting the Legends of Wrestling that I was working with Knobs, and then promoting shows with them, seeing if he would give us a little extra attention. And I get the answering machine still. Maybe it's because I told him Maybe it's because I told him you stole my observer.
I used to get the answering machine, and once he heard, because he scans his calls, so I used to get the answering machine, and then he would pick up. Now I kind of start, hey, this is David Penzer, and then I pause, waiting for him to pick up. No, he doesn't pick up. So
Don't wait too long. You might be there for a while. Dave, great hearing your voice, my friend. And again, by the way, I am so proud of you with everything.
Thank you.
You've worked your tail off in this business. You do a great job in the real estate world, and obviously your fantasy football team's your passion now. So again, very happy to be speaking with you. Anytime you need me, let me know.
Same here. If you're ever in Tampa, give me a call. We got to go out for a drink. I'll buy the drink, and I guess I owe you. All right, man. Take care. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Dave.
City Ringside is sponsored by Good Cigar Company. Did you ever see a company and you thought to yourself, why the heck didn't I think of that? Well, when I saw Good Cigar Company, I'm being honest, I thought exactly that. And as you know, Father's Day is coming up. For Father's Day this year, do something different. No more golf balls, no more T-shirts or polos. Give Dad his own personal tobacconist with a Good Cigar Company subscription. It's a great price, $30 plus 10% off for City Ringside listeners. I went to buy my adult son a cigar for his birthday, and I went into the shop, and I didn't know what I was looking at. It was confusing. It was intimidating. Good Cigar Company makes it simple. Just pick a strength level, and they send you top-shelf cigars at a great price, and they have thought of everything. Don't have the equipment, a humidor or a cutter? Good Cigar Company also makes that easy. Each pack comes with premium cigars and everything, and I mean everything needed to light up. The pack even acts, listen to this is cool, as its own humidor, so the cigars stay fresh for months. If you go to goodcigar.co, their website, you can see what I'm talking about. They have everything you need. You get 2 premium cigars in a pack, a double guillotine cutter, humidity sealed pack, as we said, detailed tasting notes, how to smoke a cigar guide. They even throw in a pack of matches so you can light up when you're ready. Everything you need in one cool kit. Go to goodcigar.co, that is goodcigar.co, and use promo code Ringside for 10% off any subscription for my listeners, and it is a cool concept. You're going to love it. For Father's Day or any occasion, go to goodcigar.co. All right, honored to have as our guest this week on City Ringside, a WWE Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, so happy to have him, the Birdman, Koko Ware. How you doing, Koko?
Man, I am doing great, man. How you guys are doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And we've been trying to do this for a while here, and I appreciate you making it work with your schedule. Hey, before I start with the questions, I got a question. Whose idea was Koko? Was that a promoter's name? Was that a nickname from when you were younger? How'd that come about?
Now, you know good and well, I'm not going to let a promoter name me Koko. Come on now. If my mother and daddy didn't name me that, he's definitely not going to be a promoter naming me Koko. Now, that came back in the early days of my life in football, high school football.
Ah, gotcha.
I was only black on the football team. And, man, I stood out like a sore thumb. And the guys started kind of gave me a little nickname there, Koko, you know. And they were spelling it Cocoa or whatever. Yeah. And so, you know, I was just kind of like, okay. But I was kind of the big star there because I was doing 11 tackles in a ball game by myself and stuff like that, man. I was the only lineman that ever scored a touchdown.
Wow.
So that Koko was hot as a pistol, man.
Who changed it to KOKO?
I did, because you know what? I didn't like the COCO and stuff like that because it was just more like a drink. and when I went to Jamaica and stuff like that, I saw there was a big KOKO sign up there saying Koko, and so I said, you know what, that makes my name sound better. It makes me feel better. I don't really sound like a drink too much if I spell it KOKO. And man, so I took that, man. You know, I took it because a lot of people even today like that entertainer calls Ice Cube or something like that.
Right.
I think his girlfriend is his wife or something that name's Koko.
Yeah, yes, it is. Ice-T.
And what she spells it COCOA or something like that.
Yeah, there was an old-time wrestler. I don't know if you ever ran across him in your territory days called Koko Samoa, spelled it COCOA.
Yeah, you know, so everybody. So I finally got something where nobody is using that KOKO but me. You know, I know Kevin O now is using that KO, like, you know, but that's his name, Kevin O. But you know, he's just.
Yeah, I dig it. I like the name, and it's unique. And hey, in this business, you got to stand out for sure.
But I want to take my hat off to announcer. One of the greatest announcers in the world was Jim Ross. That kept, you know, when I was in Mid-South Wrestling under the promoter Bill Watt, down in Houston every Friday night we had wrestling in Houston, Texas, downtown Houston, Texas, under promoter Paul Bosch.
Sure.
I don't know if you've heard him.
Oh, absolutely. I was at one of the shows when I was a kid. My dad took me on a business trip. Sam Houston Coliseum.
Oh my God. Yes. And you know what? Every Friday night, that he would come, Jim Ross would come up to me, and he would say, at the time I was tag team with the Pretty Young Thing.
Right.
The PYTs that's Express. And so he would come up to me, Koko B, he said, Koko Ware. Koko Ware. He kept saying Koko Ware. And then one Friday night he said, Koko B Ware. And he said, you know what? That's very catchy. He said, would you like to be called that? I said, what's the B mean? He said, the B doesn't mean anything. Just it's catchy. Just Koko B Ware, you know, not B-E, but just the letter B. And you know what? And he announced me that night. I didn't know it, but he went on and announced me as the Koko B Ware, Doorbell Austin, and Koko B Ware, you know, and that name is just got catchy, and I just took it and ran with it. But Jim Ross came up with the letter B.
Yeah. Well, that just answered one of my questions I could check off my list. But because I was wondering how you got from Koko Ware to Koko Beware. But yeah, I agree with Jim Ross. It's certainly more catchy. And hell, you wrote it.
But let's back up a little bit. Let's back up a little bit. Before then, when I got in the wrestling business, I started out as the Koko Kid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because I was young then. I was just got out of high school and stuff, and I was Koko Kid. And then as I got older, I said, we got to change this, man. I'm not a kid anymore.
So, speaking about getting into business, you broke in around in the late 70s. I'm assuming you were a wrestling fan. Is that correct? Most people were that got in the business.
Well, everybody. All the guys will probably say they're not. They're not a wrestling fan, but I guarantee you, they are a wrestling fan. They are a spectator when it comes down to this business. They came and saw Koko Beware back in the day. They came and saw some of their favorite heroes that they wanted to be like, and that's the reason why that John Cena and The Rock and Jerry Lawler, Vince McMahon, Triple H, all of those guys, The Undertaker, it's just the list go on and on and on. They was all wrestling fans.
Yeah.
They was, I'm sure they bought a ticket to come and see one of their, I don't know if they had favorites or whatever, but they enjoyed, they loved the show. What I'm saying.
Yeah, I know for sure Triple H because when he was John Paul Levesque in WCW just breaking in. He used to travel with me and Pee Wee Anderson, the referee, and so I got to know him pretty good back then. I haven't spoke to him in a long, long time, but
does he even talk to you?
I never, I've never tried. I often, every once in a while I'll say to my wife, I'll say, I wonder if he would take my, it's funny. And I don't want him, I'm not trying to embarrass him. He was young. He was breaking into business. And sometimes he would need a ride, if his car broke down or
right.
Whatever. So it was funny because I had I wasn't making much money in WCW. I was just starting out. And I had a white station wagon and I had 2 young children in car seats. So I don't know that I've ever told this story on the podcast, quite frankly, but what the hell? So whenever he would need a ride, he would have to sit in the back seat between. Now, if I knew then what I know now, I'd have sat in the back seat between the 2 kiddie seats, baby seats, and I'd have let him sit in the passenger seat up front. But who the hell knew what was going to happen? But
nobody knows what the future's going to hold.
So he would sit back there between my 2 little baby boys in their car seats, and we'd drive.
At the time, he probably enjoyed himself sitting back there with the kids.
Yeah, and I got my hotel room paid for and my car paid for. So that was one of the reasons why me and Pee Wee sort of started riding together. I think it was a mutual advantage because Pee Wee didn't have to pay for his share of that. And then I also got to learn the ropes of the road from Pee Wee Anderson. So we kind of used each other at the beginning and what blossomed into a family friendship until he passed, unfortunately. But yeah, and so me and Pee Wee sort of decided to take this young, good-looking, muscular kid under our wing. So he would ride with us, and he would sleep on the rollaway, and he'd drive in the back of my car.
He hadn't forgot about.
I don't know. Like I said, I often say to my wife, like, I wonder if he'd take my call now if I wanted something. The problem is,
sure, I bet he will because you know what I'm saying. I don't think he's like that because I really don't know Triple that Hunter that much. I just heard a lot some things from the boys about Hunter and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know him personally and stuff like that. When I met him and he and Stephanie, it was just icing on the cake. I mean, it just was no problem and all that stuff like that. So that's how I look at people. I regardless how of course you got a lot of wrestlers out there. Some of them made it and some of them didn't make it, and so there's a lot of bad blood out there. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just to follow up the point, I just don't have reason to call him. While I'd love to everybody, as you know, I'm, I worked in the office. I work behind the scenes for the Legends of Wrestling. I work behind the scenes with, and I want to talk about Corey Macklin later with Corey and Jimmy up in Memphis. I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and I like that even more than announcing. And I'd love to do that, obviously, in WWE, but I just won't move to Connecticut. So I got nothing to call him for, because he's not going to offer me an office job and say you could live in Tampa. But I often wondered that. But interesting story. I've never told that before.
But what I'm saying was keep the door open, because you don't never know.
No, you never
say no, because you don't never know what's going to happen, what the future is going to hold for you and your family, man.
Yeah.
And so, just be grateful that, hey, you got a chance to experience, to tell stories about you and Triple H, but what's together and stuff like that. And it's not a lie; it's the living truth.
Yeah,
so that means even more.
Yeah, very young in his career, but he was always good to me. So you get your first big program in Memphis against Jimmy Valiant. What was that? You had wrestled 2 or 3 years before that. Where were you wrestling around, and how'd you finally catch a break?
Well, I was actually Uncle Elmer,
right?
As everybody knows him as Big Plyboy Frazier and stuff like that. He's the one actually helped me got a break in the wrestling business, especially in Memphis. He was a good friend of Jerry the King Lawler, and he told Lawler, and Jerry, man, you ought to take a look at this kid here. Golly, he is dynamite, man. I'm talking about he can fly, man. He can do it all. And so Jerry said, I tell you what, why don't you bring him over to a little town called Blytheville, Arkansas, and we'll take a look at him, because they ran wrestling every Friday night over there.
Wow.
And when I got over there, man, it was packed. I'm talking about people just hanging from the rafters, man. It was so hot and packed in the American Legion building. I could not believe it. I didn't think they had many people in there, but I was just shocked, man. So I went out there to Lawler. I met Lawler and stuff like that, and Lawler said, "Well, I want to see what you can do tonight. I want you to put you in the ring with this guy called Frankie Lane." Wow, he was a big high flyer, and he's from Canada. And Frankie Lane was, man, I saw him on TV a lot of times, and man, he was just up and down, leapfrog, do this, do that, hip toss, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, nonstop. Just like, can we take a break for a second? I mean, and we went out there and we tore the house down, man. I'm telling you, and it was, and I must say, man, I was kind of I was nervous a little bit, but I must say, when I hung with Frankie and we got back, man, Lawler said, man, can you make Memphis TV? This is Friday now, and tomorrow morning. We need you on live TV Saturday morning. Golly, man, we got to get you on TV. I mean, y'all went out there and had one hell of a match and stuff like that. So I said, sure, I'll make the TV. And then when I got to Memphis and everything, first time I ever went, I'm just a country boy from Union City, Tennessee,
Sure.
I'm not used to all of these big buildings and all these big lights and stuff like that, man. I was just kind of froze to death. I was more excited seeing Memphis. All these big tall buildings. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And when I finally get to, in fact, I had to get my dad to take me, because I didn't know anything about Memphis. And we found the TV station. It was on Union Avenue, Channel 5. And then when I went in there, I met Jerry and met all the rest of them, Jerry, Jeff Jerry's father.
Sure.
And Bill Duncan. I mean, I met a lot of the big guys, and of course, Plyboy Frazier was there, like that. So, so they put me in the ring with the biggest looked like the biggest monster they could find out of Canada was Joe LeDuc.
Oh, I loved it. One of the best heels in the business.
Yes, I mean I didn't know it at the time, but I thought he was the biggest, roughest looking, scary man ever seen in my life, and especially, and he come over and looked at me. Yeah, I'm gonna bust you up, kid. Yeah, I'm gonna bust you up. Yeah, you better get ready. And I'm going, oh my golly. And you know what? And when I got out there, I mean, we had a match, and I thought we had a match anyway. He had a match. But it was just, man, it was great. I mean, but he just tossed me, he threw me all kind of ways and stuff like that. And I just did all nothing but bump. And he finally said, kid, I want you to body slam me. I said, what? I want you to body slam me. I said, I can't body slam him. Yes, you can. And he set me up to body slam him, and the crowd went crazy, and I'm going, and Lawler Jerry Lawler's about to have a heart attack back in the back. Oh my God, Joe, why are you going off your feet? Why are you going off your feet? Why'd you take that bump? Oh my God. We got me and you. We are in the main event coming up with this Monday night and stuff like that. And here it is. You taking a big bump. Oh my God, you take a bump with this guy here. He said, Jerry, I have to give this kid something. He bumped so beautiful for me. I had to do this for him. I had to do this for him. I said, oh my God. I said, Joe, I didn't want to do it. Yes, I wanted you to do it though. And I told Lawler, I said, I didn't even call that. And I said, you know, I was real green. I said, I didn't know what to do with it. He the one told me to do it. And then Lawler said, oh, well, okay. So, Lawler just, man, he got very upset at Joe LeDuc about that.
Yeah, because he had to work with him in the Mid-South Coliseum, and he was working off a house.
Joe never been off his feet.
No, he was. I tell you what,
the whole time.
One of my favorite heels of all time. As you know, I grew up on Championship Wrestling from Florida, and he did a heel turn. He was like the nice baby face lumberjack, the smiling lumberjack, and he actually was funny. He did a heel turn where I think it was Jimmy Garvin showed a tape of him doing something like crazy in Memphis. Actually, it was from the Memphis tapings where he was like he was a heel. So they exposed him as really not being the nice guy, and then he changed into that crazy character with eyes, and then he put Jim Garvin in a bear hug, and Jim Garvin had blood coming down his mouth, and it was it's one of the greatest angles in Florida history. I'll never forget it. People still talk about it to this day.
Oh my God, it was great.
And it was funny that they used the Memphis tape of him being a heel, But so tell me about, I love these stories. We could go on forever, but I know your time is limited. Tell me about being in Jimmy Hart's first family.
Well, see, that's another thing. I mean, I didn't know which way to go and stuff like that. And then finally, they did an angle where I became a special referee, that I was a referee, and then I turned, against Jerry Lawler, Tommy Rich, or somebody. I can't remember now, but I ended up hitting Lawler. Lawler pulls the chain out, and so I end up grabbing the chain from Lawler, and I turn around and I nailed Lawler with the chain, and Tommy Rich Tommy Rich got a fall on it. But Tommy Rich, I'm all excited. Tommy Rich went over on him 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And once I knocked him out with the chain, so the next day, the next week, well, we are Channel 5 wrestling. Well, here comes Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the world. He's coming by. That's what I call it, the mouth of the world, not the mouth of the South. But he said, Koko, man, you're going to be with us, man. We're going to induct you into the first family. I said, what? And I'm nervous again, man. And golly, because I didn't know, I was the good guy for a while, and then when I turned back, when Jimmy Hart, the first family, man, I just got really, really cocky and nasty. And man, I'm telling you, everybody said they loved me as a heel back in the day. I wish I could have shared some of that heelness when I was with WWE. But Vince would not even he would not even let me be a heel at all. You know, he said, "No, I ain't no way I'm gonna let the Birdman gonna be the heel." No.
Well, the kids loved you and the fans loved you as the Birdman, and we'll get to that.
Exactly.
We'll certainly get to that.
That's
So
what he was saying.
I understand what he's talking about. So they changed your name at this point to Sweet Brown Sugar. Any reason? Maybe just because they didn't want people cheering Koko, so they changed your name.
Yeah, I shaved my own head. I didn't get a match where I lost my hair, and I came up, and then so they thought about the Sweet Brown Sugar, so I used the Sweet Brown Sugar, and guess who got really pissed off about it? It was Skip Young down in Dallas, Texas, World Class Wrestling, and he called me up and said, "Who gives you the right to be Sweet Brown Sugar?" I said, "Hell, I am Sweet Brown Sugar." I said, "All you gotta do is look at me." I said, "What color are you?" I didn't even know Skip Young, at first,
yeah.
I didn't even know him, but I wouldn't even try. I didn't even know. In fact, Jimmy Hart never came up with Sweet Brown Sugar, so I went with it. But I kind of defended myself when Skip Young was calling me up and talking about that you don't have the right to be Sweet Brown Sugar, and then when we meet and all that stuff, we'll see who's the real Sweet Brown Sugar. And that kind of really pissed me off when he said that. And I'm telling you, and I couldn't wait to meet Skip Young, because I said, okay, well, we're gonna have these two Sweet Brown Sugars go at it, and then we're gonna see who is the sweetest one of all.
Did you ever meet him?
I finally met him when I was a PYT.
Right.
And then when I went to World Class, Norvell Austin and I went to World Class. So when I went to World Class, Skip Young came up and said, "Hey, I'm the Sweet Brown Sugar that you had in Memphis." I said, "Okay, yeah, I've been wanting to meet you." I said, "What was this you were saying about you want to chastise me or do something, whatever?" I said, "Is this what you?" I said, "Repeat what you were just saying," because I was getting ready to knock him out. Because he already fluffed my feathers and stuff like that, because the way he threatened, he kind of gave me a little threat there. That's the only little incident that I had, but it was just, it didn't really go no further. Norvell just said, "Hey man, forget about it. We got here to make money," and stuff like that. And so I said, "Skip, all that's over with, man. That was in Memphis, Tennessee. The people down here in Texas, they don't even know nothing about that I was a Sweet Brown Sugar or whatever."
Sure, back in the day, unless you read, the magazines, you wouldn't really know. And right. he wore a mask though, as Sweet Brown Sugar, correct?
Right. I guess he did. I don't know.
Yeah. He was a really talented wrestler, but he had a glass eye, and it was really awkward. And I think it it hurt his push, because it just kind of, he looked. I don't mean to talk negatively if somebody has a glass eye, but it wasn't a very good one. So they put a hood on him. They changed his name, called him Sweet Brown Sugar, and they put like a little silver sparkly stuff around the eyes so you couldn't tell. And he got over like $1 million with the mask on, because he could do the high flying moves, and he's a good baby face, but it was, so maybe that's why he got offended, because that he finally found he was Skip Young for the longest time and kind of didn't do much, and finally found fame and fortune a little bit as Sweet Brown Sugar with the hood. But
and then you know what I did? I did the same thing that he did. I had a loser league.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring that up. So first, before we get to that, I wanted to ask you. You teamed for a while and feuded for a while with Bobby Eaton, who's a great friend of mine, and as we say here, often one of the nicest guys in the business. any Bobby Eaton stories? I'm assuming he was just as nice, if not nicer, as back then as he is now.
Man, Bobby and I, we got along great. He was my first. He was my first tag team partner, and man, I'm telling you, I really admire Bobby a lot. I mean, a lot of respect for him. I love him. I mean, golly, I mean, when I run into him now, when I see him now, man, I'm telling you, it's just like, man, I just can't stop hugging on him and stuff. Bobby, this, and we laugh and we talk and stuff like that. We rode up and down the road together over in Memphis territory and stuff like that, and we made some money. We got over at Ebony and Ivory and the Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder came out with that song, Ebony and Ivory.
Sure.
I mean, golly, Bobby and I, we had T-shirts together and stuff like that, and we got over in Tennessee. The people loved us, man. I mean, golly, we was incredible because we can just look at each other and tell what kind of movement that we're gonna make and stuff like that.
Now, did he travel with 20 pair of socks and 5 sewing kits when he was in Memphis back in the day?
Well, you know what? If he did, he must have kept it from me because I never did stuff like that.
When he was at WCW, you'd look at his bag. There'd be at least 20 pair of socks rolled up and 5 sewing kits. And like he was like before, they had now in WWE and for at the very end in WCW, they had like a seamstress and all that. But before that, Bobby was a designated seamstress because he knew how to sew and nobody else did.
Back in the day, that's what we all did. We carried our sewing. We carried our sewing kit with us.
Sure.
I mean, that's what it was. You had to carry your chain. You had to have a chain in your bag. You had to have scissors. You had to have a Band-Aid.
Sure.
You had to have needles and thread and stuff like that. I mean, it wouldn't be no surprise to me sitting over in the corner watching Bobby, watching myself, watching Gerald or somebody sewing these pipes up and stuff.
Sure. There was.
I mean, but now you won't see that now at all. I mean, that's how it was. We just took care of our equipment and stuff like that. Even like Nikolai Volkov. I mean, believe about the. I'm saying he's the cheapest man in professional wrestling. That's the reason why that's the reason why he's probably a millionaire now. Because he would take some the tire. The rubber off a tire and put on his wrestling boots.
Oh, gee.
He would cut the rubber off a tire and take it to the shoe store and get them sold. He had wrestling. He had Michelin on the bottom of his wrestling boot that lasted for a lifetime.
Yeah, he's. I've heard the stories about him being. That there's. I heard there's still checks that he hasn't cashed.
Probably so. I mean, golly, we sit there and when he got a hotel, he stayed at the cheapest hotel and he brought his little pots and pans and he cooked out of it. He sit there and cooked it in his hotel.
Yeah, a lot of the old timers did that, and I guess that's just how they were brought up. They'd get tuna or sardines and they had a little hot.
Randy Savage did the same way. That's why he was a millionaire.
Yeah, a little hot plate. So you mentioned it a little bit. He lost a loser leave town match, I believe, to Bobby, and came back as Stagger Lee, masked wrestler who looked exactly like Sweet Brown Sugar and formerly Koko Ware. And I'm wondering, was Stagger Lee any relation to the Midnight Rider?
Not at all. Not at all. Actually, you know what? Yeah, right. I called JYD, because he was a Stagger Lee down in Louisiana.
Yeah, he was doing the same gimmick.
Right. And I called him up, and I asked him about could I be Stagger Lee up here in Memphis? Would he mind and stuff like that? Because I knew JYD. I didn't know anything about Steve Young.
Right.
And JYD said, "Hey, it's fine." He said, "Go for it, man." He said, "I'm telling you, it won't bother me at all. Because I'm down here using it, and you up there using it. Nobody know it." And so, and when I took that gimmick on, man, I'll tell you, I was dressed. I mean, three-piece suits and a hood. When I step out of the car, man, the Stagger Lee was clean. And the people, I mean, the people loved it, man. They just loved it. They played. Then I had this old Stagger Lee music.
Yeah.
Stagger Lee, oh my God, man! I'm telling you, I got over big time with the Stagger Lee gimmick.
And for those fans who are newer to wrestling business that might be listening that are wondering what we're talking about, in almost every territory, a babyface would at some point would lose a leave town match, and they'd come back as a mask guy who was obviously, in your case, obviously Koko B. Ware. JYD's case, obviously Junkyard Dog. Dusty Rhodes, obviously the Midnight Rider. He didn't try to pretend it was somebody else. The whole gimmick was, and I'm just telling this for people who might not watch territorial wrestling, the whole gimmick was that the heels kept trying to unmask you, because if they took the mask off and exposed you as violating the agreement of the loser leave town match, then you would be like banned for life or banned for a year. So that was the whole gimmick of trying to expose you. And you know, they did it in a lot of territories and in the NWA with the Dusty and the Midnight Rider. But you were Stagger Lee, and cool that JYD was cool with it. JYD was a good guy, and he named.
He didn't have no problem.
When I first started working in WCW behind the scenes, I used to run guys for interviews and get people to sign release sheets and all that. And he named me Walking Man. He says, "Hey, Walking Man," and to this day, people still call me Walking Man. On Facebook, I'll hook up with somebody, you know, that like JD Wolf. I don't know if you know JD Wolf or somebody like that who used to, you know, do enhancement stuff, and he'll say, "Hey, Walking Man, how you doing?" So the name stuck. God bless JYD.
Oh, okay.
And he also got my friend Pee Wee Anderson that we were talking about got a break because Bill Watts needed somebody. He was refereeing, but he was the second referee and wasn't making much money. But Bill Watts needed somebody to make sure that JYD got around and make sure he made the towns and all that. So they paid Pee Wee to sort of babysit JYD, make sure he behaved, and it sort of helped him get his gig in WCW. So, but
I wonder how much that cost.
Yeah. He said he got better paydays for getting JYD to the towns than he did for reffing. So
yeah, I was going to say he must have paid it pretty good, because that's a hard job, brother.
Well, in all fairness, and you worked the territory. I mean, you know, the territorial business. You know, there was a lot of driving anyway, but the stories I've heard and the, you know, driving up and down the roads of that territory when I was in WCW, only having to go, you know, from one town to another town to a Nitro. So I'm only going 3 towns. They're doing 7 towns every week nonstop. And, you know, there was 400, 500 mile drives. And, you know.
I know it. And you know what? Grizzly Smith drove every last mile of the way. I mean, he had a Impala Chevrolet, and he drove that Chevrolet. I think Grizzly Smith, when he traded that Chevrolet in, that Impala Chevrolet, he had like 600,000 miles in that Chevrolet.
Yeah, and there was no satellite radio, there was no internet, there was no cell phones. It was just you and whatever music, whatever cassette tape you could put in the car. But so.
Exactly.
Interestingly enough, you had mentioned the PYTs. You and Norvell Austin, you had runs around different territories, and you ended up back probably because Jim Ross had named you Koko B. Ware and saw something in you. But I'm just assuming that. So tell me if I'm wrong. But you ended up in Mid-South where you took on the Birdman with the mannerisms from the song "The Bird" by Morris Day and the Knights, where it was actually a dance, and you started coming out to that song, and wondering whose idea that was, and if you thought at the time it would have literally change your career and change your life.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I started out as I was the Birdman anyway, down here in Memphis. Then I went when I came back, and then I went out in the circuit. Okay, then and my next stay was my next town actually was Mid-South.
Right.
And I was the Birdman then. I was the Birdman Koko Beware. I had birds on my pipe, and I was named the Birdman Koko Beware. Well,
and whose idea was that? Your idea?
Yes, I'm getting to that.
Oh, sorry,
I'm getting to that. Yeah, my wife, God bless the heart, she's deceased now.
Sorry to hear that.
With breast cancer.
Oh, so sorry.
And, but she was a cheerleading dancer, a teacher of all the little young kids and stuff like that. And she was off, and since she came up with the gimmick because
wow.
With the Parrot, she went into a pet store and she saw this blue and gold macaw bird, and they took a picture of it and brought it to me, a Polaroid picture, and said, honey, if we can afford to get one of these birds here, man, this would be great for to help your gimmick, the Birdman, to get over this blue and gold macaw. I said, yeah, this would be nice and stuff like that. And then like 2 weeks later or something like that, then that's when I get a call from WWF. I can't say F. Let's say WWE.
You could say
now.
WWF. Okay,
but I got a call. It was Howard Finkel. Howard Finkel was they called me up and you know what? I thought it was a real first. I thought the guys was really me.
Every story. I got it. Sorry to interrupt, but every story back from those days. From Jimmy Hart telling the story to Hillbilly Jim to everybody telling the story, especially the Memphis guys for whatever reason. I guess Austin Idol did a pretty good Vince impression. So everybody from that area tells the story that they thought it was a rib when they got the call from WWF. Jimmy Hart tells the story, and
yeah, yeah, right. You're exactly right, and I couldn't believe it, and Howard would get on the phone. Hey, this is Howard Finkel, Koko. How you doing? All this stuff, WWF and all that. And Vince would love to have look for you to come up and have a meeting with him and stuff like that, and see if you want to do better with your career. And I said, who is this? Okay, this is Howard Finkel. And I said, no, it's not Howard. It's not Howard Finkel. Why would you want to call me of all people? Of all people, why would y'all want to call me? When Vince wanted to talk to Koko, I'm telling you this, I said, no, I said, come on, guys. I said, somebody's playing, and one of the boys down here is playing as Howard Finkel. He's changing voice around, and he's got that real deep voice, Howard Finkel, sure, and all this stuff. And so Howard said, you know what, Koko, I tell you what, right here, get a pen and a piece of paper. Here's my number. 203 number, okay? I'll be right back. So I called the air code 203 and found out that's Connecticut air code. And so when I called, he answered the phone. Then I knew it wasn't real. I said, oh. So he said, well, Koko, yes, now do you believe me? He said, no, I'm not really. I'm doing this for Vince McMahon. He wants to bring you up. He loves your talent and stuff like that. He loves to bring you in and wants to talk to you about, if you want to make a move, that's up to you. That's totally up to you. We don't want to step on Bill's toes or anything like that. We just want to see, just make an offer to you. And he wants to fly you up and all that stuff, but do it on your time off. Don't just do it on your wrestling days and stuff like that, because you don't want to mess Bill Card up or anything like that. So they was real nice about it, very professional and stuff like that. So, and then when I talked to, so I came back and I talked to Bill Watts about it and stuff like that. And meantime, Bill really wasn't doing anything with me. He was just kind of just had me on the card and stuff like that. He wasn't really pushing me. So JYD done left, and he was trying to get all the black wrestlers he could to fill in JYD's spot, but you couldn't do that. You couldn't fill in his spot. You had to be yourself,
Sure.
And so I talked to Bill about it, and Bill hit the fan. Bill took me up to a hotel. Me and him went in his room, and we talked and we talked and talked. He said, Koko, they're not going to do anything with you and stuff like that. They don't like the little short guys and stuff like that. They're not going to, they like those big monsters. I'm telling you, you're going to make the bad move, and you're going to wish you had stayed down here. And I said, well, Bill, I got to go up there. And I got to go up there and see what he's talking about and see what he's going to offer me.
Sure.
I said, Bill, you're really not doing anything with me right now. I said, you're not doing anything. But we're just getting ready to do stuff with you and stuff like that. I said, well,
Isn't that funny how that works?
I know it works. It's just, I didn't know. I learned from Memphis, and I was there 5 years before I even went anywhere. And I was kind of, I won a greenhorn about the business when I went down the territories, because I learned a whole lot under Jerry Lawler and big time,
Sure.
And Lawler taught me a lot. And so when Bill said, yeah, you can go ahead and go up there and stuff like that. And so when I went up there, and they had the meeting with Vince McMahon and stuff like that. And then when the meeting was over, for some reason, my wife put this bird in my pocket, in my front shirt pocket, and she said, if he mentioned anything about the bird Frankie, show him this picture. I said, oh, okay, hon. So
wow.
When the meeting was over, as I walked out, Vince McMahon said, Koko. I turned around. He said, is there anything else that you like to have for your gimmick? And I said, you know what, Vince? I don't know how you came up with it, but I would love to have this beautiful blue and gold macaw bird. Vince took a picture of it. He said, oh, my God, I can't believe it. Now we got you want to carry this parrot around everywhere you go? You know you're going to be traveling all over it. I said, Vince, this is going to help me really get over it. Oh, my. He said, that's a great idea. He said, I love it. Now we have a dog. Now we have a snake. Now Steamboat has a dragon or whatever. He said, now we have a bird. I said, oh, my God, I can't believe it. So when I went back to Bill, I told him, Bill, I think I'm going to go ahead and accept Vince McMahon's deal and stuff like that. I want to better myself and stuff like that. And of course, Bill was just, oh man, they're not going to do that with you. I'm telling you that now and stuff like that. But you know what? After I went up there, of course, they didn't beat me like a drum like they doing the guys now. I'm gonna say this, like they're doing the black guys now. They are killing all the black guys up there, and I don't know why. And it's terrible how the guys up there, and they can make money, they can draw money, they can go against Brock Lesnar and stuff like that. They could, like Big Ed or whatever his name is. He could draw money. He came in there as a real tough guy. But look at him now. Now they turn him to little dancing bears and stuff like that. And that's not right. Myself, I went up there and I was up and down the card and stuff like that. I was up, and I'm not saying these guys, I'm not putting these guys down. They got talent, but they won't use them. What I'm saying, they won't put them in a money spot. I'm just telling the truth like it is.
Yeah, I think have you seen that? I don't know how much you watch it. Have you seen that they brought Bobby Lashley back in? I think they're going to put Lashley with Lesnar since they both have UFC backgrounds. Okay,
well, what I'm saying is they brought Bobby back in, stuff like that, but the thing about it is, not only just Bobby's, he was a fighter.
Yeah, he's a Ultimate Fighter guy.
Okay, well, what I'm saying though, but see, I mean, but he's like, he wasn't one of the boys. What I'm saying, like the New Day team. What's the other guy? Titus.
Titus O'Neil. Yeah, he's a Tampa guy.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, we talk about it, guys like that. I mean, here it is. Just because they fight, the guy he can fight, with the other companies, stuff like that. Then they want to use them. Well, what I'm saying is that eventually they're not doing anything with the girls. They're not doing anything with the guys up there. And the only way, every time somebody's gonna lose a match, if they're black and white, they're gonna and I'm not saying I'm prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced at all. I'm just telling it like it is. Because I want our business to be equal. Where the blacks got a chance to be, because there's a lot of black people out there spending their money on the wrestling business. And they would love to see black champions and stuff like that. The ladies, black champions and stuff like that. I mean, you just don't dog them all out. What they're doing now, they're dogging them all out. There's no black on top except when The Rock comes in.
Yeah, it seems to me that unless your name is Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, or a couple other guys, it seems to me that black, white, yellow, whatever the color is, all they do is 50-50 booking anyway. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a racial thing. I'm not up there. I don't know if it's a.
I don't know either.
I think it might just be the fact that that's all. They do a lot of 50-50 booking. Just as an example, Elias beats Bobby Roode twice, and Bobby Roode beats Elias twice, and so nobody really gets over you. It's just that it's the parody booking.
I tell you what, it's like this. I'm tell you what, they using these blacks. They got to have blacks on the card. If not, the black civil rights people would come in. So this way here, if you got blacks on the card, then they'll cut out the civil rights leaders.
Yeah.
Well, they using y'all. So, and you know what? Those guys are making money. I mean, the blacks are making. They making decent money. They're not making the money that they should be making. They're not making the money as Roman Reigns because they're not putting him in the money spot. Big E, like I said, Big E came in there like he came in there tough and all that stuff. Like, I mean, scary, like all muscle up and everything. And you tell me he couldn't whoop nobody?
Yeah. No, he's impressive for sure. And hey, look,
but now he's not now because he's all thing he's got down to offer is his little dance and you know what? But I hope those guys will take that dancing or whatever they do. And I told him, y'all just I want them to just stay with WWE because they're in a good spot because there's movies out. People's already watching these. You got a promoter over there picking up these guys and putting them in movies, so hopefully they can get a movie out, somewhere down the line because for their characters. Because everybody can talk good.
Sure,
so that's one thing about now. Everybody can talk good. Back in the day, all the wrestlers could not talk good. That's the reason why we had managers.
Sure, absolutely.
Because they couldn't. The big guys could not talk. But I want to get back on that case with Bill White. Okay, when I went back to Bill White, isn't it funny? Now he told me, go ahead on. They're not going to do a thing with you and stuff like that. Now, in 2009, Bill Watts and myself was inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame together.
I didn't realize that. How ironic is that? Did you? Hey, you have to have said something to him. Please tell me you did. Backstage.
I did. I said, Bill, remember you tried for me not to come here and stuff like that? And Bill looked at me. He said, "Oh, Koko, it's a funny world." That's all he said. It's a funny world, isn't it?
It is.
I said, "Yeah, it would have been." It would have been a funny world if I never came up here and lost all what I had to offer. I said I was getting really sick of myself. Where here it is, the biggest stage of all, and I didn't get on it.
Sure. Absolutely. How ironic is that, though? Hey, before we go on, and I want to talk about the Hall of Fame a little bit more towards the end, but I'm dying to know this. Tell me about the challenges. You know, Vince mentioned it when you guys had your interview. Tell me about the challenges of traveling the world with a parrot. How difficult was that? How did you have to check them in on planes? Did you carry them on planes? How'd that go?
Well, see, the first night, Vince, he flew a guy down to Brazil and bought the bird and got a wild bird and flew the guy back. So the night in Baltimore, we had TV in Baltimore. That's the first time I'm bringing the bird out is in Baltimore, Maryland.
Right.
And he had a chain on his leg and everything like that. Well, back in the back, me and Pat Patterson was back there in the back. The bird is squawking. He wouldn't come out of the cage. And Pat was going, "Oh, my God. Koko, you sure you want to do this?" He says, "This bird's not coming." He was fighting. This bird he was fighting at us and everything. He was holding on the cage and everything. So we had to disassemble the cage.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we had to break it all down and stuff like that. And then the bird was just trying to go after. He was trying to fight and all. But he had this chain on his leg. I said, I really don't want to go out there with a chain on his leg because it looks so cruel.
Right.
You know, I don't want that. I was going like, oh Lord, we got to do something where I want him to be free. I don't want him to have this chain on his leg. And Pat Patterson, "Koko, I don't know what you're gonna do." And the bird was fighting on me and stuff. And in fact, I got juice from the bird, and it wasn't even in the ring.
Oh my! I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It sounds like a disaster.
Oh my God! And Pat was just going, "Koko, what you gonna do, Koko? What are you gonna do? You going out there? You got to go out there. You got a match tonight, and you got to bring the bird out and stuff like that." Vince bought the bird and all that stuff. I said, "I know it, Pat. I got to go." I said, and first when I went out there, I had the bird. I had him on the chain, and I'm telling you, I just carried him out there on my perch and stuff like that, and the people went crazy because I was a bird man. I had birds on my tights, and they had Frankie in my hand, on my arms, stuff like that. Yeah, and he was just biting me to death and stuff like that. You know, saw the blood running out. I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." And finally, we went out there and had the match and stuff. And then when we got back to the dressing room, Pat goes, "Koko, I don't think this is right out there for you. This is not." I said, Pat, I'm telling you, I got to make this work. I got to make this work. If I don't make this work, Pat, I'm a dead duck in the water. I'm telling you now, I'm a dead duck. Koko, beware when I get over here. I said, y'all done spend a lot of money trying to push me and stuff like that. And I said, y'all got a lot of stake here. I said, if I don't get over, if I don't get this bird, then you know what? I'm gonna be just like everybody else. If I have this bird, I'm gonna be up there with Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, all those guys on top. I said, that will put me up there with those guys. I get this bird going. And don't you know, when I got back to the hotel that night, I set the bird stand back up and stuff. And I said, Frankie, I said, you know what? We're going to have to work. We're going to have to make this work. You know, you're going to have to help me. I said, I don't have no money. And I'm just telling you, if you don't help me, you won't be able to get no bird seed. I said, we both gonna be starving to death. I said, if we don't make this work, and I'm just talking to him like, and Frank is looking all sideways and stuff, and looking at me, so they're like, heck, you on your own, Jack. I don't care,
That's a true story. You're telling him that he's not going to get any bird seed if he doesn't work with you.
Exactly. He just, and it's Frank going like, and so the next thing, we flew out. So I had to go to the airport, take Frankie, and he would fly on the same plane underneath. I had to pay $50. So actually, we were going to Buffalo, New York, and so it was $50 from Baltimore to Buffalo, New York, and then $50 wherever we go to our place or back home or whatever. And so we go to Buffalo. So we get to Buffalo. We check in the hotel and everything. I go to a bird store, find a bird store. And somebody can know anything about birds. And I'm getting scoops and stuff like that. And I said, how do you make a bird talk? So they give me this tape. They give me this bird tape and stuff like that. And this bird tape is going, hello, hello, hello. Well, meantime, Pedro Morales has been hounding me to death, Koko on the plane. Can this bird talk? I said, no, he can't talk right now, Pedro. He can't get it. Oh, okay. And stuff like that. So we get checked in the hotel. Pedro's room is right beside mine. Well, that night, he didn't know. I done went to the bird store. Now I done got this tape. It lasts about 2 hours long. Repeating itself. Hello, hello, hello. So Pedro, I'm leaving my room, so I pass Pedro down the hallway. Of course, Pedro done had a few drinks and stuff like that. And
God
Pedro
bless
said,
Pedro.
Koko, where's the bird at? I said, he's in the room down there. He still can't talk. I said, no, he can't talk at all. And I said, so Pedro said, oh, okay. I said, I just got to get out of the room and get some fresh air, Pedro, and stuff like that. He said, oh, okay. So now when Pedro gets in the room, he hears the darn tape going. Hello, hello, hello. So Pedro, this was he telling me the next morning. Pedro, he started repeating the bird. Hello. Pedro's going. He said hello back to the bird. Hello, hello. Now Pedro's getting closer to the wall, and now Pedro, he's hollering, he's banging on the wall. Now Pedro's telling me all this the next morning. He's banging on the wall. Okay, bird, shut up, hello, shut up. You say hello, I say hello. You say hello, I say Koko said your damn, you can fucking talk. You saw language, but you couldn't talk at all. And shut up, you darn bird. He's beating on the wall. Shut up, you shut up. So the next morning, I see Pedro down. I meet him down the hallway. We check it out. And he comes up to me, Pedro, it's a Koko. I said, yeah, what's good? I thought you told me that damn bird couldn't talk. That damn bird can talk. Oh, he can talk. He kept me up all night long. He said hello, I say hello. He said hello, I say hello. I said, I got to the wall, told the bird to shut up. That damn bird he can talk. I said, Pedro, that was the tape recording. Hell no, that was the tape recording.
All right. So just that's a hilarious story, by the way. Just so I got this right, I just want to confirm this is a shoot. So you're in Baltimore, and the bird's giving you a really hard time, biting you all over the place, and you had to take apart the cage to get him out of the cage. You bring him back to the hotel. You sit the bird down, and you have a talk with the bird, and the bird actually started to behave after that. I just want to make sure I got this right.
After that, when I got to Buffalo, they told me I went to the bird store. They said to help train a bird, you have to get you 2 sticks, and you have to play games with him, where up and down with the sticks and stuff like that. And they're afraid of sticks. They're thinking, "Oh, you're gonna whack them." And the sticks helped me out a whole lot.
Wow.
Every time the bird would do something bad, I'd raise the stick up, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And then you got to keep his wings clipped, and that brings all the meanness and everything out of it. Because if he can't fly, then that takes away. Oh man, then he's so humble and just like a little baby. Then please help me. I can't go nowhere. I can't fly up in the tree nowhere.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so I swear to God, I thought that you were going to tell me that you sent the wild bird back to wherever it went, and you bought a trained bird, and I swear to God, I thought if I was a betting man, I'd have bet you $100 that was the story you're going to tell.
I couldn't send it back. I could not send it back. I had to use what I made. Hey, we stayed up all night that night. I didn't get no sleep, and our flight was like 7:05 that morning. Man, I'm dragging in the airport. Hey, I've been up playing with that bird all night long from Baltimore.
God bless you. Did you ever get him to talk?
I finally got him to say hello and stuff like that, just saying hello. But I couldn't. I didn't work with him long enough to say words and stuff like that. Just to speak on command. That would have been awesome if I could have got him. At that time, I said he was so easy. Every time he got it where I would open the cage door, he'll walk out on his own.
Wow!
And because he knew the routine that we was traveling. When I opened the cage, he'll walk out, and I set his perch up, and he'll perch right on his perch in the room, and his food and water. And the next morning, we leave. I would put him back in the cage. He would have no problem walking in his cage.
Boy, what I would give to have one more chance to sit at a bar and buy a drink for Pedro Morales and discuss that story, because that Latin accent, that Latin temper that he had. I bet you I could, after a couple of cocktails, I could get him riled up again about the story.
My God, I'm telling you, he was just a little bit more. He's getting all over me. That fucking bird can talk. What the fuck is wrong with you, Koko? I thought you said he couldn't fucking talk. Hell, I thought he was saying hello, and I was saying hello back to the bird. I'm beating on the fucking wall and the bird wouldn't stop talking, Koko.
That's hilarious. So at some point, they discovered that you had a singing voice and let you sing. They decided they were going to get in the music business. Jimmy was there, and Jim Johnson, and they had an album, and they had a follow-up album called Pile Driver, and you sang the title track. I'm wondering how that is. Is it nervous to Vince McMahon comes up to you and says you're singing? This is a high-profile album. We're going to be marketing it all over the world, and you're singing the title track. Was that nerve-wracking? Did you like it?
No. I was fine with it because I was singing in the church already. I sung in the male chorus, still sing in the male chorus, and I play lead guitar. I play lead guitar for my church, the New Sherman Baptist Church in Partyville, Tennessee. I play every Sunday morning when I'm there in town, and that never stopped. What I'm saying, I'm still singing in the male chorus, and of course, I love to sing, and by me being the lead singer of Power Driver and stuff like that, man, I just thought that took me over the edge, brother.
Did they ever have any plans to do like a tour or any kind of that, or was it just the album they were promoting?
Well, I guess they thought about some plans, doing some tours and stuff like that, but I never, it never did come my way. I mean, hey, I think the Power Driver went gold over in Canada, and then it did 500,000 some copies in the States.
Yeah, I had the album. I'm not ashamed to admit I had the album. It was you know, it was a cool concept, and that must have been an honor for you to do that. And I'm sure.
It was an honor.
People still
and I want to thank the WWE for giving me that opportunity. You know, because I mean, and I tell a lot of these gospel groups out here that I deal with stuff like that. I said, guys, I already had a hit record of Power Driver, a lead singer, and it went a million. I said it was 500,000 copies over that we sold, and they went gold over in Canada. And I said, man, here it is. I'm just coming out of the rest. You guys out here trying to sing, like trying to get on, trying to get a start in life and stuff like that. Y'all are singing and all these good demos that y'all have that nobody can hear. I said, you need to get these demos where people can hear you guys. If you got a good song out and stuff like that, because you know what, and it takes money to do that. Because WWE, they put up over $100,000 just to get this thing played on that TV.
Yeah, you had a huge machine behind you. You know, the television presence and the promotional machine that the WWE.
Yeah, that MTV came on. Remember the MTV? Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, they played it on MTV and all that stuff, man. I mean, when you get exposures like that, man, you know, that's what give you more exposure and stuff like that. And because there's a lot of songs that you hear on the radio as crap, but they get airplay, you know, and that's what makes their songs be. You can go, I can out sing him. My song sounds a whole lot better than this song, but it's not all about that. It's just what producer do you have behind it?
Yeah, like Bill Watts, the world's a strange place. You never know what's going to happen, and a lot of it is right play. A lot of it is who you know. And hey, speaking, you teamed up with Owen Hart for about a year. Owen, God bless him, was known for playing ribs. He play any good ribs on you while you guys were a team?
Well, he didn't mess with me, but him and the British Bulldogs, they was at it all the time and stuff like that. I mean, of course, Owen, you know, he didn't like to spend no money at all. And then the Nasty Boys they really ripped Owen a lot. You know, they used to tell me how cheap he was and all that. And, you know, that he always tried to catch rides and to a town and all that instead of getting a rental car. And the Nasty Boys really just, I mean, they just howled the heck out of him. But we all got along great, though, man. It was, I think, Owen he's another tag team partner, man, that I love and got to know his family and stuff like that real well. Man, Bret Hart and his dad. When I met Stu Hart, oh my God, Stu wanted to take me down in the dungeon and stretch me. You know, yeah, I'll take you down there. Koko, come on down here.
He liked
down in the dungeon.
He liked to do that.
Yeah, he loved it. He said, "I'm can I sketch you there, little Koko? You look like you kind of tough there." You know. But it was great, you know, and I'm so sorry what happened on that situation, man. You know, my heart just goes out to the family. Just God bless you. Hope of course they'll never get over it. You know, they never forget about something like that.
No, and, I never even met Owen Hart, but I still remember where I was when I heard the news, because we were at a WCW house show, and everybody was just a lot of the guys who knew Owen were, you know, of course, obviously very emotional, and it's just one of those crazy things that you know, they talk about tragedies. It was just a tragedy, and he's certainly missed. But couldn't
I tell you that the suit he had on when he passed. I mean, I wore that suit on the WWE when they brought me in one time. I wore that blue suit, the blue blazer outfit that he had on.
Right.
One time, I don't know if you remember when I came when Bobby Heenan said that's a black blazer or something.
I remember that you did something brief, but after his tragedy, they never obviously for obvious reasons brought it up again.
Oh yeah, they never brought it. They never brought anything up like that again. But I did wear that same suit that he died in, man, and deceased in. But my heart still, man. God bless him, and he got those kids around there, man. And man, I wish one day I could see them, but I know probably slim and none. But I still wish them the best. Yeah,
of course. Speaking of, I don't want to get too down because we just had a fun chat, about Pedro Morales yelling at the wall and the great stories that you told. I appreciate it, but I also, talking about being taken too soon. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were tight with Corey Macklin back when he was doing the Memphis wrestling shows, correct?
Yeah, we was tight. Yes, big time. Yeah, I helped Corey out a lot, and Corey helped me out a lot. On different things and stuff like that. So we worked pretty good. We had some disagreements at times, and we had some great times together.
Corey always left everything till the last minute. So, like the 24 hours before a Memphis Legends reunion was like it felt like it took about 6 days. But God bless him. But I just thought I'd ask you about that because I don't know if you remember, but I came to Memphis a lot to work with Corey and Jimmy Hart and Jerry Lawler and Lance a little bit and work with you. So
I remember you. You kind of just shied me away a little bit because, I guess you were more of a big shot than I was.
No. But you know what?
I mean,
I was talking earlier about, how things could go to your head and if I came and if I came off that way, I certainly apologize because
that's what happens. Everything was at your head at the time.
Yeah, well, but look, hey, you're that. The one thing though is that it might not have shown it always, but I always respected the athletes because they're the ones that went out. Anybody could take a microphone and talk into it. Some better than others, but
well, not anybody. I mean, let's give yourself some credit. Not anybody.
But going out there and taking those bumps every night and doing what you guys did. I always tried to show them much respect. I think I might have been intimidated by it, but that's a whole nother. Just because you were a big star and I was just a ring announcer. But
I don't think so. I think it was the other way around.
I hope not. Now you're making me feel bad.
You came in there Atlanta with a nice suit on and all that stuff, and limp over picking you up and all that stuff. I mean, you just like a hot dog, man.
Oh God!
Come on, man. You was spreading your stuff back in the day, bro.
I will tell you this: you're only young once, so when you're young, you got to strut it because you get to. Because now I'm 52 and bald and 30 pounds overweight and so I can't strut nothing anymore. But if I came off that way, I certainly do apologize. I certainly didn't mean to, and it's embarrassing actually to hear about. Let's end on a positive note. You mentioned it briefly, but going in the Hall of Fame, was that something that you thought about, or was that total surprise when they called it? Was it something that you said, "Hey, I'd really like to get a call and go in the Hall of Fame," or was it something that you just didn't think about and wasn't something out of the blue?
Well, I was just kind of shocked because, it took them 20 years to put me in the Hall of Fame. I was just shocked. I know I deserved to be there before a lot of wrestlers that was beat me there at the time, and then So I just thought I should have been in the Hall of Fame before some guys and stuff. I'm not gonna mention their name and stuff like that out of respect.
Sure, absolutely.
But you know what? If it's 20 years down the road, who cares? hey, it happened. And, thank God it happened. And you know what? That kind of ended my chapter of my wrestling career, because you know what? When they say I wasn't going no further than little small territories or whatever, when I proved them wrong, that I made it all the way to the Hall of Fame, I made it to the biggest circuit out there, the biggest grandstand in the whole wide world was WWE at the time. I'm an F at the time, but it's E now. But you know what? And I'm very, very proud of it and stuff like that. And I still love the business. And I'm so grateful that they put me in the Hall of Fame, and that ended my chapter, because I'm telling you, I completed my goal from a little small black boy from Union City, Tennessee, made it all the way up to the granddaddy of all.
God bless you.
And made it big. I'm talking about made it big with 93,000 people in WrestleMania 3.
There you go.
And I'm telling you, coming from a little small town with a population of 10,000 people, I mean, only one police, one post office, one grocery store. Man, how proud can I say? How proud can I be?
Yeah, you earned it, my friend.
It was great, and I still take my hat off to the WWE, and I still love them. I just wish they would give me more time, do something with me when they come to Memphis, Tennessee. I wish they would call me out and say, Koko, bring you and Frankie out, come out here and just come down the aisle and stuff like that, and so the people around the world can see you all. Sure. I wish they could do that, but they never have did anything since they put me in the Hall of Fame. I never did anything for them and stuff like that, and I don't know why. Yeah, I mean, it just it's stuff like that happened and stuff like that. I mean, I'm okay. I'm fine with it, but it hurts. It hurts like hell when the job that I love, that put me in the Hall of Fame, they come to town and they don't call me, so I can let. Because a lot of people here, a lot of my fans, and a lot of just people here in general, Koko, why are you not down at the WrestleMania? I mean, down at the FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee. Why are you not there? Why are you not coming out, just letting the people see you? And everybody in there loves me. I mean, everybody in there knows me. The whole town knows me everywhere I go.
Sure.
And I just think it's missing the boat. WWE is missing the boat on that.
Yeah.
But you know what? But I can't, I don't have the power or anything like that to talk to them now, because I've been out of the game for a while. So, I just have to sit back and just wait. And if it happens, it happens. If I get a phone call, I get a phone call. And that's all. I don't want to get in the ring and wrestle. I just want to go out and look like I got $1 million. Look like I got $1 million in my pocket. With nice suit on and stuff like that. And Frankie's got his little suit on, and man, I'm telling you, I just want to come down the aisle and go around the ringside and let the announcers do the bird dance and back up the ramp I go. And God bless America.
Well, I've been with you at a bunch of Legends of Wrestling events, and I know the fans still love you, and the fans still pop huge for the bird and the song, and the now you got a hat you've added to your repertoire, a bird hat. So if it happens, like you said, you never know what's going to happen in life, but I'm glad that whether it happens or not, that Hall of Fame call came, and that you, like you said, you if it doesn't happen, you could be proud of what you accomplished, and have some peace.
Well, my thing is, I'm glad that the Hall of Fame happened to me. I'm proud of it. But now, you know what? There's a lot more other wrestlers out there that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and let's put Mike Tyson them off the side, and let's put the real wrestlers in there. That's my thing. Hey, Mike Tyson, Pete Rose, and stuff. They have no business. I'm gonna say this much, and I know it's all about the money though, but they have no business in the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they do a celebrity wing, and I know it's controversial, and I have no idea what their thought process is. If maybe PR, they've always going. But you talked about WrestleMania 3 with all the celebrities, and WrestleMania 2 with all they had so they've always mixed in celebrities to their stuff, and so maybe that's just their formula. I don't know. I'm not taking a stance either way. I've never been up there. I've never met Vince McMahon, and so I just don't know. But
right.
But I'm glad.
I wish the NBA and the NFL would put me in their Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Man, can you imagine?
Hey, you could be in the Larry Bird wing of the Hall of Fame.
There we go, Larry Bird. There we go.
All right, now it's getting off the tracks. But hey, I want to wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time. The stories were hilarious. I'm so glad that you gave us the time to sit ringside with us, and best to you. And hopefully we'll see you down the road. I know that you do autograph shows and some indie stuff. So hopefully we'll see you down the line. Do you have you on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that?
Oh no, Facebook, no nothing like that. Just what you hear is what you hear now.
There you go. Well, thanks, Koko. I really appreciate it. God bless you, and we'll stay in touch. Hopefully, we'll see you down the road on a Legends of Wrestling show.
Thank you, brother, and God bless you.
Same
to all my fans out there. I love you all, and man, I hope the Birdman can come in your town. I'm dying to come there. So talk to your local promoters and stuff, and book the Birdman Koko B. Ware.
All right, fun times, and God bless him, Koko B. Ware. That story about Frankie and Pedro Morales, I could see it now. Pedro Morales was after he was done he was the Spanish play-by-play announcer, color guy actually, for WCW for most of my run there. And after he was done with the play-by-play, he liked to go down and have a couple of cocktails, and he had a little big Latin accent, if you remember, and Latin temper, and I could just see him arguing through the wall with what he thinks is a bird, but is really a tape. So that is one of the funnier stories I've heard since we've been doing this podcast, and want to thank Koko, class act, and happy that he's happy, because not all the wrestlers from back in the day are satisfied. So he seems pretty satisfied, and hopefully WWE will reach out to him, let him make a appearance in Memphis, Tennessee. It seems like it means a lot to him. So hopefully maybe that could happen down the road. But also want to thank Alex Marvez. Fun conversation about the NFL and his career and our history together. And you could follow him at Alex Marvez. Very knowledgeable, as you saw a little bit of, about the NFL. So if you're an NFL fan, be sure to hit him up on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, be sure to hit me up if you haven't already, at David Penzer or at Penzer Ringside. We want your questions for our guest next week, former WCW heavyweight champion David Arquette, making his first podcast wrestling appearance in more than 4 years and his second podcast wrestling appearance ever. So we're really excited to have him. And we're going to, like I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to talk about his run with WCW, which was controversial to say the least, and his thoughts on the business, and hopefully ask your questions. So send them in, and we are looking forward to Sitting Ringside with David Arquette. It drops next Monday, and we look forward to your responses. Hopefully you will enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoyed this edition as well. Let us know. Until next time with David Arquette, I'm David Penzer, still sitting ringside. Take care.
Follow David Penzer on Twitter at David Penzer. Also make sure to follow the show on Twitter at Penzer Ringside. You've been sitting ringside with David Penzer on Radio Influence.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.